Well, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get to the nitty gritty, guys. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you guys. Your all's project, honestly, is pretty breathtaking to look at, in my opinion. So I'd love for you guys just to introduce yourselves and kind of tell us what role you guys play for the project first.
Yeah, so I'm Condi. I'm founder and CEO of 1984 Redux, or known as 1984 Global on Twitter. And everything from the vision to the name of the project to like kind of what our message is, and even into more into like our marketing and kind of overall big picture stuff, right? So yeah, that's what my focus is. And Dior, I think if he is, I don't know if he's, but Dior's runs our partnerships right now, and he's been killing it. He's has a lot of experience in Web3, and he's just been kind of very active, and he's just like a diamond in the rough when it comes to like team members. So we're really happy to have him. I think he's rugged or something.
Yeah, he mentioned he was pulling in to his house, so I'm sure like Wi-Fi. Like every time we get near my house, the Wi-Fi always like connects, but it's always really shitty, and I have to walk in. So I'm sure something like that happened.
Yeah.
All good. Well, thanks for introducing yourself. That's awesome to hear. Why don't you give us a quick rundown on what 1984 Redux is?
Yeah, so 1984 Redux is kind of it's a blend of like everything that it's a blend of everything that I've been inspired by, and so it takes like kind of nostalgia and cinema and blends it into like an IP where we can tell stories and kind of also change the narrative on what the youth and the world are seeing on the big screen, right? Because part of the reason why I created 1984 Redux is I was there from the birth of Azuki, and I know those guys, and so that I've known one of them particularly for years now, maybe since 2016, and him being like an entrepreneur, we talk about many different projects, and years and years down the line, we kind of like, he kind of worked on his stuff and I was working on my stuff. And then, one day he just reached out and he's like, hey, I'm doing this project. And he's like, it's NFT. And I was like, I've been hearing about this NFT stuff for a while, but, I had just opened up OpenSea like the week before. So it was kind of coincidence, like a funny coincidence that he reached out to me the week after. So we met at a cigar shop in LA, and he like brought his laptop and he was like, yo, don't show anybody this. And he like pulled up all the Azuki stuff and all the traits and all the assets and everything. And he was like, this is what we plan on doing. And he's like, we're going to need a commercial. And that's what I do. Like I make commercials for brands and stuff like that. And so I made the Azuki Trust the Process ad, and the rest is history, right? Azuki blows up. Luckily enough, I got paid in Azuki's because I knew when they showed it to me, I knew that it was something special, especially after I made the video for it. I was like, okay, this is going to be received very well, right? And so, I started going to the real IRL events. I went to one in LA here, went to one in New York, NFT NYC, and while I was there, it was funny because a former team member who was Asian was with me, and he would always be like, oh, like, look, this is the audience. Like, this is the audience of like the NFT space. So anytime you're at the Azuki event, like look around and see like those are the guys that are buying. But I was like, okay, that's one audience, but there probably is like many different audiences out there, right? And so I was like, how do they feel? And every time I would run into somebody who wasn't necessarily Asian, they would basically be in the Azuki party, and I would just talk to them, and they'd be like, yeah, it's cool, but they're like, yeah, I feel a little bit left out, And so I was like, oh, okay, like, anytime you're creating something, you create out of necessity, right? We've created spoons and forks and TVs and things like that, carpets and everything that we have around us is out of necessity. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's a gap for something that is more global, right? More universal. And so that's where the idea of 1984 came from. It's just kind of like, seeing what Azuki did and being inspired by that, but then like kind of making that more of like a global, worldly sort of project.
Yeah, because I mean, I can see some similarities to Azuki and at least maybe the storytelling element of it, but from the artwork, this is not anime, right? This is kind of a more of a modernized American kind of animation. Matter of fact, this I posted in Office Hours chat. This 1984 Redux picture. It looks like that character reminds me of like a Static Shock. If anyone here is familiar with Static Shock, so I mean, obviously you guys are telling like a very like cyberpunk, very interesting story. Can you maybe speak upon like the art and the artist who's been helping you guys?
So originally we had a separate artist, a lead artist. So this project started in January, and from January, I was like messing around with the like logo. I was messing around with the name. I've always liked the name 1984. So I basically had like I think one was 1984 and one was like something else. I don't even remember what it was, but one was 1984. And I was like messing around with the Nintendo logo and stuff like that, and like trying to create a bunch of different things. And February, I reached out to several artists, and I was just like going through a bunch of artists, and I wanted them to kind of be authentic as well to the brand. And so through going out and like scouring through many different artists, I originally, we found one, but then he was like not really delivering on time. And we talked to his manager, and his manager is like, yeah, if you're looking for somebody who's like going to be punctual, this is not the guy. He's like a true artist, like just like gets up and like goes and travels and like goes off the grid. And like, we just couldn't have that. Right. So we scratched him off the list, even though he was like extremely talented. And then started going down the list, and the artist that, transparently, I found was Hicham Habchi. And that was the artist that I reached out to in March. And I was like, yo, we have a project, and, I have a project, and I'm looking for an artist. And essentially, that's the artist that we, I was like, yeah, we have this project, and it's going to be called 1984, and it's going to be diverse. And originally, I didn't want to be the face of this brand. Funnily enough, I was just kind of like, because I had seen the Azuki guys stayed docs, and I was like, I just kind of want to be docs. But then through my former business partner was like, yo, like maybe you should be the face because like it's authentic. And I was just like, yeah, but I just don't want like, and so eventually I was just like, all right, whatever, I'll be the face of the brand. Right. And so I basically, I reached out to him, and he started, doing some sketches, and we started going over the sketches and trying to tinker it to be different. Right. Because like we had this one posture, the PFP posture was supposed to be like more of like a profile, but like the opposite profile of what Azuki is, but slightly at an angle, but closer to that. And I was like, no, I kind of want something like, more straight on, but like, looking at the screen, and then also like having thicker lines. And then we even worked out like how far we want it to be from like the camera. Right. So it's like, we started like super kind of wide where you could almost see like a little by the torso, and then we were like, yeah, let's move closer and closer in towards like to get the frame that we now have, because we figured like if you're looking at the PFP on Twitter or something, you want it to be you want to be able to kind of see it, right? And if it was too far, you wouldn't be able to see. So those are all the details and things that I worked out early on. But yeah, obviously now our artist has changed. Since March, I started this project January. March, we brought on Hicham. In July, So just being transparent as well, Hicham was brought on as an artist, and he was brought on as the lead artist for the project. When I went to Hicham, I told them there's a couple ways we can go about this. One way, I had just raised, I think, $50,000. And so the first thing that we could do is, we could keep all that money in the bank and use that for marketing and hire more artists or hire whatever we need. But because I liked his work, I was like, hey, we barely have enough, like that much money. So would you like to come be like a partner? Like we would split it, because I gave 50% to Alex Lynn, and I gave, so it was 50-50. And if Hicham came in, then it would be 33.3, 33.3, 33.3. Right. And I made that, I was open to that at that time in March. Because I just raised 50 grand and I didn't want to lose that money. And so Hicham agreed to that. And sorry. Hicham didn't agree to that. Sorry. Hicham did not agree to that. Hicham said that he wanted to get paid. And so thus the 50 grand or a total of 55 grand, we had to get more money, but 55 grand went to Hicham. And he didn't take the percentage. And thus, in July, when the project started to pop off, he wanted to change his mind and renegotiate. And I was like, no, because I literally gave you 55 grand that you bought, put a down payment on a house for, and now you want to renegotiate. Plus, he was going to get another 50 grand at the end, and then 25% of mint. So I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm giving you. I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm giving you etc. So after July, we had to find a new artist. And so right now we have a total of 4 artists, and they're all very familiar and have the same style. So nothing has really changed. If you kind of go down our Twitter, you'll see that nothing has really changed. All of our art kind of still looks the same, because those, as a filmmaker, something that I specialize in all the time is hiring crew, right? So I sit down and I work on hiring cinematographers or costume designers or production designers. So looking into getting team members and crew and stuff like that has been something that I have a lot of experience with. So even today, I just onboarded another new artist to kind of help pump out traits. So right now we have a total of 4 artists actually working on traits and stuff like that. And then we have, a UX UI designer, and then we have someone who's also working on some 3D components. We have a lot of different, so yeah, we have quite a few people now.
Awesome. And sorry for making you bring up the drama. Didn't realize there was so much into it. But that's interesting story of kind of how you guys kind of got the art style to now. Can you kind of maybe back out a little bit? So obviously you made a lot of comparisons to the project to Azuki, and I know you guys are kind of hoping to be a very large storytelling driven project. Would you say this is a game, or is this just a take on a PFP project? Can you maybe outline that for us, for anyone out there that might be confused?
So 1984 is Star Wars, and I keep comparing it to Star Wars because me being a filmmaker, I have a love for storytelling, I have a love for cinema and arts and video games and all that stuff. But I feel like 1984 is going to start at, as an NFT, but then we're gonna, don't be surprised if you do see a video game, or if you do turn on Netflix and see an animation show, or go to the store and see the T-shirt, right? It's just it's Star Wars. We have our protagonists, we have our antagonists, we have people in between that who are working the world their way to get what they want, right? So we have people who potentially are misfits, but are also working for Evil Corp, and stuff like that. So 1984 is just this huge universe with different characters and, many different storylines, so that's kind of the inspiration behind it.
the trailer you guys have, the full cinematic trailer, you mentioned your cinematic background and you direct for brands and things like that. As someone who went to film school myself, I can clearly tell that you have that kind of background, because I mean this trailer is amazing. I mean the just incredible. I assume that we're going to be able to see a full cinematic kind of thing soon. Is that something that's on the books?
Yeah, you're talking about the animation, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So the animation, we have a 1 minute version of that one that's gonna be dropping pretty soon. And then we had the original video with Casey that I directed, and then we had several other pieces coming out, and we have some other videos also coming out. In the next few days or weeks and stuff like that.
Excellent. One of my favorite things about like the project at a glance, without like diving into it, is the slogan "Don't be late." Specifically because in Web3, everyone talks about how we are so early. So it just is a fun juxtaposition of the phrase "Don't be late" to we're still early. And so I'm just curious if you can maybe explain when would too late be for us to get into this project. What's coming up in the mint time? Like when do we need to be paying attention?
I think right now is the best time to be paying attention. And if you've heard about 1984 and you're following it and your notifications on, then you're not late, right? Then you still have a chance. And just getting in Discord also and just trying to talk to our community. I honestly think I've been in many communities and stuff like that, and I really feel like we have such a genuine, cool community. Everybody cares about each other. We're very we're all funny, and people just don't take themselves seriously. It's very fun in our Discord and stuff. And there's just one big family, people from all over the world. So don't be late was actually inspired by being transparent. Don't be late is actually transpired because my parents are from West Africa. They were born in West Africa, and when they came to America, they actually came to America in 1984. And when they came to America, they moved to Brooklyn, and they grabbed a mattress off the street, and they used to sleep on that in this lady's basement until they had my sister. And but when they got here, I remember when I got older, I would talk to my dad, and he's like, you know what, when I first moved here, everybody was talking about this Apple thing and Apple this, Apple that, but I just didn't know what it was. I didn't have the opportunity to even know how to get a stock and do that stuff. And I just kind of always feel like if I could go back go back to the past, the idea of 1984 is taking a Testarossa and going back to 1984 and being pops, get that fucking Apple stock, get it, and because then he'd have such a big bag right now, right? So, but he didn't know how to do that. So the concept of don't be late, it's kind of even if you are sleeping, I'm here to kind of tap you and wake you up and be hey, this NFT thing there's something to it. So don't sleep on it. Don't make fun of it, because if you go back and you watch Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and them talking about the internet, and then they're on David Letterman and people are laughing and stuff like that. And David Letterman's mocking him for saying this is the next big new thing. Right. And a couple of, decade or two later, it's it is, right? So I think that's the concept of don't be late is just we're and even some of us right now, right, from the crazy bull run of January, December, February, even maybe almost March, and then just this huge crash. It's even some people are we're already late. They're saying yeah, it's already late, it's past, right? All those projects Moonbirds and Azuki and PXN and those guys all got in, at that right time. But yeah, the concept of don't be late is kind of, that's what it means.
I love the story behind the story, so to speak, of that. The inspiration behind it. I love things like that. So that's awesome. Can you maybe speak to, obviously I know you said there's several different kind of storylines, but what kind of like universe are we having a story told in? Is this like a futuristic 1984? Is this like an alternative universe, or is this kind of like just thrown back into the 80s?
Yeah, so it's like a version. It's definitely an alternate like sort of reality where, but it's our reality, right? It's our reality or our future. And this hero, this protagonist, is living in the future, right? And he sort of has to go back to the past to change the outcome of the future. We've seen this quite a few times. Like a good example is like Terminator, John Connor, right? John Connor is like, this Terminator is trying to kill him, and so like it comes back to the past and is trying to kill him, but instead of a bad guy going back to the past, a good guy goes back to the past and tries to change it. And when he goes back to the past, it's very funny that you say that. Is it futuristic or is it not? Because I think a good example is like Blade Runner, but when Blade Runner came out, it was a movie depicting what the future would look like, right? But if you watch it now, even though it's the future, it kind of still looks old, because the technology wasn't as good to make it like, what we could do today with VFX. So I think 1984 is definitely the 80s, but it's also with this spin of like futuristic, like some futuristic elements, because the Evil Corp and the Time Hunter agents are like sort of these timeless beings, right? The technology they have essentially will never age or will never look old or new, because they are at they're the epitome of like their how do you call it, like when they level up, sort of like I don't know the word, but essentially like when you watch like Frieza keeps like leveling up, or like Majin Buu, they have like their final form, right? And Evil Corp has been at their final form. So whether they're in the 50s or whether they're in the 80s, they like don't really need to come out with anything new, because they're just like elite, So even within that, in the universe of 1984, when you go back, Evil Corp has all the same shit that they would have in the future. The only people that are leveling up and figuring out ways to level up are the misfits and trying to constantly catch up.
Gotcha. I love the concept there. So what is, like, in terms of a lot of the projects that are coming, up, a lot of the ones that are trying to hark on storytelling, they roll out like a roadmap. Can maybe you explain what kind of roadmap you guys have set for maybe Mint onward right now?
Yeah, so Dior can definitely touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, as you guys know, we're really big on storytelling and universe building. And one thing that we're very aware of is when projects talk about bridging that gap between Web 2 and Web 3, a lot of people put all their eggs in the Web 2 basket and use Web 3 to kind of build the foundations of their project. But we recognize that for a project to truly, bridge that gap, or even take a step towards truly doing that, there needs to be value in both Web 2 and Web 3, right? So in terms of what we're planned to do in Web 2, it's very simple. It's stuff that, everyone has heard before. It's apparel, collectibles, IRL, meetups. But the thing with 1984 that we feel like is an interesting dynamic that we bring as compared to a lot of other projects is we've proven through our marketing, we've proven through things that we've done as a project already, that we have the ability to kind of have that creative eye while also, really putting in the resources and finances to execute things high quality, and on top of that, execute it, well. So touching on the Web 2 stuff, that's what we're trying to do. We currently have a couple partnerships with projects that you're all very aware of for co-branded apparel pieces coming up in the near future, collectibles, and so on and so forth. Other things that we offer is our animes that's coming up post-Mint. We have a lot of, as you guys saw with the teaser, that's on our pin tweet. We have a lot of other animes. Like we really are big on universe building, and we don't even want to call it story building because we feel like we're not doing it justice, because we understand that with 1984 we really feel like we're in a unique position to really build something great with the blank canvas that is the 1984 universe. So those are two things. And we already have partnered projects and communities getting spots in our upcoming manga and upcoming anime. So those are some things that we're offering. And on top of that, moving on to Web3, going back to what I was saying, that we understand, that what there has to be value in Web3 alongside the Web2 stuff. And to do that, the first step we made in really approaching that is talking to Augmented Labs, essentially. So Augmented Labs is our dev team, which is why a big reason why we love kaijus. Little Alpha Kaiju is one of our partnered projects and partnered communities. So they are really helping us try and figure out how we can implement something that's truly great. And working with a team like that, they've been nothing short of great. And some things that we want to bring in is kind of tying in Web 2 and Web 3 by using on-chain achievement tokens. Some sort of like tokenomic system to where holders, when holding our NFT or any NFTs with partnered communities, they gain benefits in our ecosystem post mint. And we're still right now trying to iron out the exact specifics and build up on it. We have a lot of things that we're possibly going to do, but as of right now, we're still trying to figure out the exact ways in which we want to implement it. But we have a lot of stuff that we plan to do in regards to Web3 utility.
That's awesome. No, the Augmented Labs thing is super awesome to hear too. I'm a big fan of Dots, big fan of the Kaiju team, clearly, as you can see in the picture. What's it? Can maybe you just explain? I know a lot of people are bullish with Dots, just leadership and stuff like that. Can you kind of explain a little bit about that partnership? Maybe what it's been like to work with them? Just curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So essentially, with Dots, I think he brings like a lot of experience, in being somebody who's already done it, right? Like actually done done what he, done like stuff in the Web3 world. So working with Dots has been really enjoyable, and just being able to, as like two founders, be able to throw ideas back and forth at each other and see what could work, and experiences that he has and that he also brings to the table. He's kind of like, I asked him about something, he's like, oh yeah, we tried that, and this, you can do A, B, and C because this could also happen, right? And so just having somebody who's already gone through the ringer and has like a solid community and foundation for us, working with him has been pretty smooth and really, really, it's been really, really great.
Yeah, definitely. Everything Connie said is true. Dots is honestly a super great guy. He toes that line of being professional while also, reading the room and understanding that, we're trying to build Augmented in particular. What the specifics of what they're doing with us is essentially full stack development. They're helping us with our front end and back end stuff. They're helping us with utility advisory as well. Where, like Condi said, we're just kind of, bouncing some things off of him and see how he feels about it. As Condi said, with Kaiju Kings, one of the strongest communities in the space and one of the most, proven projects in Web3, they've earned the right to really, get the nod. And Dots has really proven time and time again through, whether it be Genesis Kaijus, Baby Kaijus, anything regarding the Kaiju ecosystem. He's done it well, and he's innovated, even with the scientist mint. So working with them has been great. A lot of it is just full stack development, front end, back end, that entails website development, utility advisory, general advisory, and just, so on and so forth. Like, it's been a pleasure working with Augmented, though, and the whole Kaiju community. We have a lot of stuff cooking with them in the near future as well, on top of a lot of other partner communities.
Excellent. Thanks for going in detail. I realize it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the direct impact of your project, but it's always nice to know that when you're working with another team who has had that success. So love to hear that. So let's talk about Mint and Mint Date and the Mint mechanics. So obviously you mentioned don't be late. and mentioned for us to jump into the Discord. What are we looking at for the mint date? What are we minting? I know we have keys that we've been teasing out on Twitter, things like that. And then how can we mint? Is this a whitelist? Is this a public sale? What's the supply cap? Like what are we looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I could go into some detail again. We're still trying to figure out. We're really trying to iron out the specifics of everything. But I can release a good amount of information. So regarding our supply is only 1,984 NFTs. It really feels on brand. It feels right. And with current market sentiment, a lot of big large collection projects have not done well. A lot of projects that is minted recently that have higher supplies have not really reached their full potential, and that's nothing on those projects. It's just the sentiment within the market at the moment, which is fine, right? So us noticing that, we wanted to toe that line between where we feel like we have a large audience, right? And like Connie touched on earlier, being global, but at the same time having that small, tight-knit community where we can really provide value to each person. And we feel like with a lot of things, all things considered, with current market sentiment, 1,984 NFTs is the way to go for us in particular. As regards to mint date, right now we're targeting a last week of October to first week of November mint date. A lot of that comes down to things such as when the website will be done, just overall like back end stuff, and that's kind of the range right there that we're given. Honestly, it's more so about feel. With 1984, as Connie touched on earlier, we really feel like one thing that we can hang our hat on outside of anything else is quality. In everything we do, right? Being calculated, being methodical, weighing pros and cons of each thing, and really having a good feel for when we feel like it's right. And that comes down to, looking at the market, looking at our community, surveying the space, and so on and so forth. So that's our range, though. Last week of October, first week of November. As regards to our mint structure, we're still, unsure as of right now. We've had some things that we've kind of, thrown at the wall that I could touch on, but I don't really want to kind of say anything that, might be inaccurate come a week from now, if that makes sense. But we have a lot of stuff coming out in regards to kind of our mint structure, but also just roadmap. We have our artists working on the visual roadmap right now, which we're really excited to put out within the next week. We know a lot of people have been loving our artwork and loving the vibe, but the question that people have been asking, which is, a justified question, is what is 1984 building as in regards to the roadmap? So we feel like coming up this upcoming week, the past couple of weeks, we've just been kind of putting our head down, having tunnel vision, trying to build 1984. So when we were ready to do our final marketing push, we hit it hard, and everything is calculated and thought of. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely does. I just want to make sure that people know when and what to prepare for. So thanks for that.
Absolutely.
So I kind of ran out of the questions that I kind of wrote down here in the 40 minutes we've been talking. I want to make sure we open it up to everyone listening. If you guys have a question, please drop it in guest questions. But this is around the time where, I want to make sure that we touched on everything you guys wanted to touch on in this conversation. So if there's maybe anything that we didn't maybe discuss that's important to the project that you guys wanted to make sure, everyone listening to this later was able to understand or hear, would love for you guys to kind of maybe spit some of that knowledge out. If not, maybe to reiterate something that you guys, kind of wanted to make sure that people left with a lasting impression. We do have a guest question here, though. So let me go ahead and pop that up.
Did we miss anything? Did I miss anything?
No. I think we're all good, man. I think, yeah.
I know. DR and Kandi, Blessed did ask for this question, and I know you guys have mentioned that you're probably just haven't come to the decision yet. But in terms of mint price, did you guys know that yet?
Yeah. So we have a rough range for mint price. Again, a lot of it comes down to market sentiment. It really just comes down to how projects are minting at the time. But our range right now is kind of like 0.15 to 0.2, like around there. If the market's just bearish and unforgiving, then, that would be the low point. But we hope that through work, through showing that we're building something that's worthy of having that 0.2 mint price, we're eventually we want to inch up to there. But like I said, we're very aware of where we are, and we're very transparent, and we feel like if that time comes and we're not where we need to be, or the market's not where it needs to be, then we would enforce it. But I hope that answers your question. But for right now, we're still kind of debating.
Got it. Understood. Awesome. Well, since there's nothing else to touch up on, maybe just giving you guys the last word to kind of close this out and reiterate what all 1984 is about.
Yeah, I mean, 1984. We have three things. It's authenticity, right, and quality, and storytelling. Those are the main thing. But I think the main thing for 1984 is definitely authenticity, culture, nostalgia, right? It's like nostalgia, because nostalgia is one of the most powerfulest tools that we have, right? And so when you look at nostalgia, it's like everything that you grew up watching or seeing and wanting to show when you were a kid, and then when you get older, you want to show your kid that, right? The same thing is like Jordans, or Stranger Things is really big on nostalgia, or even going into Disney, Star Wars, everything we kind of love now, Harry Potter, World of Warcraft, it becomes nostalgia. Everything becomes nostalgia. And so that's why I feel like 1984 really can capture everybody's hearts, right? And then culture, because I think culture blends into authenticity, because we are the family and team of 1984 are actually really people who love this stuff, love the culture, love these brands, love things in the Web 2, cinema, all of these things. We're not I guess like a group of guys who just like are trying to create something based off of not having the knowledge of what we actually like, right? Like so I think having that, knowing what it feels like to be standing in line at a Supreme, or knowing what it feels like to be standing in line at a concert, or like actually being the consumer and being behind the other side, it really helps when you're creating, right? Because when I create commercials and content, I create things that I want to watch. Like, so the 1984 commercial, like I want to watch that. So I essentially made it for myself, and thus making it for yourself and being true to yourself. There's going to be other people out there who can identify that, right? And one of my mentors, he always says, he's like, you cannot bullshit truth. The reason that things succeed, even when somebody goes out and makes something on a shitty little, canvas, or like, with a shitty paintbrush or with a shitty camera, and you go off and see that it does really well, it's because there was truth behind it. And so I think when you look at 1984, you can truly tell that I actually give a shit about this project. Like I'm not one of those guys who are just like in it for the bag, or like I actually give a shit about this project, and like I'm willing to sacrifice my own money and my own time, my own blood, like to make sure that like I give my community the best. And I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and final notes for myself is the team here at 1984, we're really big on work. We're big on leading with action, putting our best foot forward, and really ultimately delivering something that is in Web3 to stay long term, right? We're working with Augmented, working with Kaiju. They built something that's in Web3 to stay, right? And that's kind of what we're looking up at, and that's where we want to be eventually, right? Being able to hang our hats on building something that is really in Web3 to stay. And ultimately, we hope that everyone here listening and an MVHQ that listens later can take the time to follow along with us and, join us in our journey in building 1984 Global, which is just for everybody. And that's it for myself.
Awesome, guys! You've been a chill team. It's awesome to talk to people who I feel like I could go out and like grab a cigar with and just like sit around and talk. So if you were ever in NFT NYC or anything, I'd love to grab a drink with you guys. You guys are a cool crew.
Absolutely, man. if you like hookah, man, NFT NYC. I've chilled out on the cigars a little bit because it gets on your clothes, man. You got it. It takes a long time to get it out, but I'm a big hookah guy now, so I'm definitely we definitely grab some.
That's why I always travel with my smoke jacket. Just kidding. Right on. Well, I'm really excited to see what this project becomes of it. I mean, I'm a big fan of the art. Really bullish on the art, guys. So love the vibes and the kind of the story that the art's already telling. So can't wait to see it. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today live. Thank you for everyone listening later on. More information to come, but jump into the Discord for the project so you can, keep in touch and don't be late for this project.
Exactly.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Later on, guys. Peace.
See you soon.